Okay,
Hi.
go please.
Thanks. Hello. Hi. Okay. Anima Mundi. This is part 10 of the series. The Red Book, an Aquarian Odyssey by Michaela Villiers-Kendall, December 3rd, 2020. To quote Carl Jung, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So, okay, so this is further going into the metaphorical labyrinth of the search for the Anima Mundi, the world soul. To recover the soul, as Carl Jung actually began to say in the Red Book, this is the recovery of the world soul, and that was his intention, to recover the individual soul, and by so doing, recover the collective soul, the world soul. He became engrossed in Gnosticism, Hermeticism, the Kabbalah, and alchemy. So anyway, to begin, so I'll just show you the Red Book. I have the Red Book. Look at this. Ta-da! It's massive. It's so heavy. It was my birthday, you know, and I decided finally, I did start with the reader of the Red Book, and I thought of getting the artistic version of the Red Book, but I thought I might as well, having become engrossed in Carl Jung and Stanley Kubrick with The Shining, and I thought I might as well get it. But anyway, it is wonderful. I'll just open one page to show you this wonderful illustration to start off. I didn't get it. But I don't know if it will show properly. Yeah, well, this is, I'll just show you that. So this is the serpent, and from coming up from the earth, and also the spirit of the depths, Leviathan, coming up from under the boat that was trying to cross the waters of the unconscious, it seems that he was portraying there. These were all Carl Jung's paintings, wonderful illustrations. And the monster, the serpent, and the serpent threatening the unconscious, the son of the unconscious, or the processional son, you could say too, of the New Age. So wonderful. Right, so I'll start with the first slide. Oh, so this is Carl Jung's chart, and with it is the solar eclipse for the 30th of December 1913, which is actually just a few hours before he did have his vision, his first vision that night. So it was under the eclipse. Of the vision of blood, which was a river of blood, as he describes it, a sea of blood, a horrific vision, which, as you'll know if you've been following the series, Stanley Kubrick referred to in, he used the metaphor, he made the symbol of it, the blood elevator. So he was also referring to Carl Jung's, it would seem, because he put the Red Book in the film, disguised on the manager's desk, which if you go to, I don't know what part it was, part 4, I think, part 5, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's when I begin about The Shining, I think it's the second part. Anyway, so this is the solar eclipse for the vision of blood, the 30th of September, 1913. And this is his chart, and it's quite remarkable. Because you can see there, slightly blurry on here, but I think I've got a copy. I hope you can see it all right. Here we are. Right, so what's really remarkable about this is, and I just wanted to say about his birth chart, that description of the serpent from the earth and the illustration. It so describes his moon in Taurus, conjuncting Pluto in Taurus. Isn't that wonderful? and it's in his third house, and fantastic. So from the deep, in other words, and it's that serpent of the earth that he sees as the serpent from the unconscious that threatens the collective and the individual, evil, if you like, Abraxas in Gnosticism, or the demiurge. Anyway, so as you can see, really remarkably, Uranus was conjunct his ascendant when he had the vision. Mind-blowing, really, and obviously that opposes his natal sun at 3 degrees Leo. And up there you can see the eclipse at 6 degrees 25 Libra. And if you'll notice, Pluto, which was a major marker for the First World War, along with, I think it was Uranus conjuncting the south node of Neptune, which you can probably see coming up to it there. No, it had gone retrograde. Hold on, where is it? Can't find Uranus. Anyway, I'll go on. I'll find it in a minute. My eyes not, I've lost Uranus. Anyway, so his visions lasted for 9 months. And they were terrifying visions. This began on a journey. He was going back from Scotland, and he was going over the water. And so that vision he had, I suppose, of the creature of the depths, you could call it the age of Pisces, even threatening the age of Aquarius, because this is very much, his red book did turn out to be his, and it's all the, if you know it, it's the record of his visions, and all from the unconscious. And that began a period of 16 years where he recorded it in this book and did it with great reverence, because he felt it was a prophecy, and well, really his anointment as a type of shaman. He really was a shaman, and it took him into that world deeply of the intuition of the water element that he was perhaps he was attracted to, but his air element was obviously superior. So it was the water element that he was trying to get hold of. And he used it so successfully throughout his career, and took many, many of his psychological descriptions from. So anyway, so what's remarkable is that 9-month period from that eclipse is actually, it went till June 1914, and then it finished just about the time of the first quarter moon that was in 8 degrees Libra. So amazing. It was like a perfect time period. But what is even more amazing is when the First World War actually ended, Pluto, on the 11th of November, it's exact, 11th of November, 1918, Pluto's at 6 degrees 25 Cancer, which is exactly square to that eclipse, which I think is phenomenal. But anyway, pressing on. So this, I thought, really described his vision of blood, and he was on the sea when he got it. But this is a terrible description of what happened to the USS Leviathan, and that is like the Leviathan, as I was saying, that comes up from under the depths of the unconscious. This is awful, because this was actually in the pandemic of the Spanish flu, synchronistically coming up at the moment. But this was much worse. 500 million people died worldwide. So this was in the thick of the First World War, 1917, what was it, 18? Yeah, we've got it on 29th of September 19. This is when it began, when the voyage began of the USS Leviathan going across to Europe to fight in the First World War. It's dreadful. The pandemic, the epidemic of the Spanish flu happened. They were in a vision of hell, literally a vision of hell. There was blood and fluids all over the decks. People were throwing blood up. I won't go into more description, but it was actually like the vision of hell that he described. And that even more, although the whole First World War, you know, obviously there were other descriptions in the trenches and of the same thing, but that really encapsulated it. And it's amazing too that began on the 29th of September. So that is picking up that eclipse that happened 5 years before in 1913 that he had the vision. Yeah, and you can see there, if you look closely at it, the sun, of course, because it was the same date, almost at 6 degrees Libra. Again, it's picking up the square of that Pluto when it finished, the First World War finished. And, you know, you've got Mars, Pluto in the first one, and then you've got, again, you've got, it's already got to 6 degrees, nearly 7 degrees Pluto's got there when that happened later in 1918. And chilling. But anyway, I won't dwell too much on it, but there's the chart for you, and it's quite amazing. Okay, right, we'll press on because I don't want to spend too long. Right, you can see that Chiron as well. I was going to point that out. Okay, so back to the film. And this is the hexagonal labyrinth. And as you can see, it goes both ways. It goes down and it goes up. And finally, after trying to analyze that carpet for so long, I finally realized that, when I put the two together, using the computer, of course, which is such a help, I put the two together and put hexagon, which I thought that is a hexagon on that carpet. And then, of course, because of the labyrinth in the story, I thought, let's try labyrinth. And hey presto, there you go, there's the carpet. So if we go onto the carpet, next. Okay, there you go. So, yes, victory. So anyway, what I realized he was trying to say, one of the things Kubrick was trying, Stanley Kubrick, and you know, obviously he was an immense admirer of the Red Book. I did describe before how, although it was on the manager's desk, people in Hollywood did get to see previews of the Red Book. You know, they got to see it, those who were interested. And obviously Stanley Kubrick would have been one of those, being interested in all of that, psychology and the Kabbalah and philosophy and religion, spirituality. Not really religion. Anyway, so there's Danny and the famous carpet scene when the vision has just begun. So you don't know whose vision this is exactly. First of all, you think it's Danny's. Is it Jack's? But anyway, we won't go into that at the moment. But there he is on the carpet, and a yellow ball rolls up to him. The yellow ball is an invitation. It's like to play. Jack was playing with the ball in the Colorado room. He's throwing it very disrespectfully at a Hopi Indian mural. And then it rolls down the hall, and it seems to roll to where actually Halloran is murdered later. He will later murder Halloran. So anyway, here's the ball, saying sort of come and play, like the twins always say, come and play. And there are 9 cars. And so that's obviously symbolic of something. And you realize that it's symbolic of the moon, because the Kabbalah, the tree of life, is closely related to everything on here. And the 9th Sephiroth is Yesod, which is ruled by the moon. that is in line with the Apollo sweater. So it's all about the moon. Anyway, the yellow ball too has a couple of meanings, and that is to do with also the moon and the sun. Apollo being the sun god, and there we go. There's the sun rising, and that's in the Dawn of Man sequence in 2001: A Space Odyssey, which, funnily enough, Kubrick very famously directed. So there begins to be, this is where the two pictures start to merge, and it becomes very obvious that 2001: A Space Odyssey was the first venture into this area, and The Shining was a follow-up that must have been intended, although it took another 10 years or just over to realize it. Sorry, that's my dog again. He's 15. Okay. So anyway, so there's the dawn of man, there's the moon, there's the sun, and the crescent moon as you see it forms, which is very important because on that carpet, on that carpet, I was just going to say that's good, we'll use that, but on the carpet, the cars also form a crescent moon like that. And then the ball, if you'll notice, there's the ball, the yellow ball, one of the versions of it. And that is Hal. Hal is the computer in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that's his eye. That, forming the horns or the crescent, whichever way you want to look at it, is the reflection that's very cleverly put into, you can see it shining into the computer, making it's either a Taurus, the bull, which would be to do with the Minotaur, or the age of Taurus, which was mentioned in the last Anima Mundi episode, and or the crescent of the moon, to do with Hecate, or the unconscious. So there's Hal, and also it turns out Hal is actually the Gnostic word. It means, Hal means, it means simulation. So it is like a simulated universe. That is the Gnostic view, that Abraxas, or the demiurge. And so Hal here is taking on the role of the demiurge. He is being created by man, however, and he's the computer that goes haywire. Yeah, that's that. Okay, so we'll go on from that. But Jung calls it the evil eye, Abraxas. It's the eye of the serpent as well. So this is the choking poster that Wendy passes as she's in the boiler room. And this is at the point that this is just before this, when this is just after this, in fact, when Danny has been attacked. So we're seeing this vision just before this. So this is the choking poster that seems to draw attention to it. That ring in the middle, the O in the middle of choking, has, as I pointed out in the last episode, has the open mouth of the Dionysus, which is the mask of Dionysus, and it represents Danny choking too, because he seems to have been choked at the end of it. He does survive, if you don't know the film. But anyway, that also, that's the that shape represents the pyramid, and also the monolith, in fact, in 2001: A Space Odyssey. There is another reason, and there you see those circles, which is the moon, and the lights are on the ceiling too. If you see that, if you see the carpet scene, and they are in the shape of the moon. There are 6 of them. So that also implicates the sun, which is the 6th Sephiroth, which is Tiphereth. The circle, which is the 0, which is the O in choking, actually has another meaning in the Egyptian. So it's at the top of the pyramid too. It is also the rising sun, but it's also the moon, which is Isis. And it also is the Ru. It's called the Ru in ancient Egypt. And the Ru is, it has a meaning here actually. I will say something about that quickly. Okay, so the Ru is to do with initiation. And it's about it's all about duality. Hold on. All right. Sorry, my dog's my dog's annoying me a bit, but I hope you can't hear him. Okay, so it's about the resurrection as well. The moon, the sun, resurrection. It is the mouth. It represents the mouth to which is the entrance, and it's an entrance to enlightenment, entrance to the underworld. In fact, the gate to the underworld. Right, we'll press on. There's more on there, but we'll press on now. Percy, it's all right. Okay, this is the caduceus, and this is sort of like a boiled down version of the tree of life, which is the staff. The tree of life represents the spine. It represents the caduceus with the staff, with the circles, the serpents, creating the circles. And you can see there, encompassed in the middle, is like the Taurian sign as well. So you have the two serpents, which are like the four horns, and you have the circle in the middle, which is like Taurus, which is like the moon in the different stages, phases. Then you have the son of Ra above. You have the wings of Isis. And then in the middle, you can see that represents Dath, in the middle of the serpents, where the serpents meet. And Dath is the 11th Sephiroth. And it says here, the veil of the abyss, because the abyss is Dath. The 11th Sephiroth, that's 11, Apollo 11 on his sweater, on Danny's sweater. So it's the abyss. That is the entrance, that is the mouth, that is the Ru. Yeah, okay. So anyway, so down below, you can see the 9th Sephiroth, which is the moon, which is the one you go through the moon, the unconscious, to get to Dath. Right, okay, to reach Dath. And on your way, you do go into another place, and that is represented along with the moon into room 237, which we won't get to yet, but it's another Sephiroth. Okay, so right, let's push on forward. Percy, it's okay. Right. Right, this is Apollo 11, as you say. The rocket represents, now he stands up. As he stands up, he's representing the raising of the Jed column, which is ancient Egyptian as well. The Jed column is sort of the opposite to the Ru. The Ru is the opening the mouth of the underworld. The Jed column is the spine, is the phallic symbol, but it is raising the Kundalini. It is the raising of consciousness. And so as he stands up, he's raising his consciousness. He's preparing to enter into the underworld in order to be initiated. So anyway, so that's that. Okay, and you can see the lights behind him, etc. So we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so there you can see Carl Jung's drawing of Abraxas, and you can see how it does represent also the raising of consciousness, but it is through the dark, which is the shadow that he called it, which is evil, because in the Gnostic beliefs, in alchemy, evil and light are just two sides of the same coin. And so you reach the light through the darkness, as he said, as in his quote. And there you can see the similarity to the eye of Hal, the computer, because you can see it there, and that's also reflected in the carpet. It's the same colors in the ring of the carpet, in the circle. Okay, quickly go on from that. And then again, this is this is pretty graphic. This is Carl Jung's illustration from the Red Book, and you can see he's got the Jed column, which is the symbol that it raises towards the star, the spine of the tree of life, and the pyramid, the top of the pyramid. The star is Sirius, is representing Sirius, and then you have the sun above, and yeah, and the rue is represented there, and the serpent, the dragon. So, and that is the initiate. Okay, great. Let's push on from that. So the high priestess in the Tree of Life is the second. She is the second tarot card of the major arcana. And you can see again the crescent on her head, that's a Kati, the moon, the high priestess. I will read you something from this really good book. I have mentioned it before because it's like a handbook to the Kabbalah. And the high priestess, this is the Tarot of Awakening. And it's initiation into the Kabbalistic Western mystery tradition. And it's a wonderful guidebook for the initiate. Yeah. So, so the high priestess, it says here she stands between two pillars. The two pillars are of the Tree of Life. And she is assigned to the Hebrew letter Gimel, which responds to the word camel. This suggests a long, harsh journey of this path. Begins in Keter, the divine will crosses the abyss and continues into Tiferet, the sun, the Sephirot of the sun, the spiritual heart of the tree. So she is the guide, the guardian of the unconscious. And it says here, the scroll on high priestess lap is the record of everything that has been, is, and will be. The term Akashic records is sometimes used for the contents of the scroll. It is half hidden, meaning that not everything will be revealed. I'll press on. So the pillars represent the Tree of Life, all pairs of opposites, dark and light, good and evil. Yeah, and there's the tree, and you can see the path that crosses the abyss. The abyss is in the middle. It's the vacant Sephiroth, but it is the path down into Dath, into the abyss and the void, which leads to Klipoth, which is the tree of death, which is the dark tree, which Danny again is about to go through and represented by room 237, go into. Okay, all right, and that's for people's reference. They can see on, you can see too, Yesod is represented by the purple color there, and the moon down there, number 9. It's the second Sephiroth up in the middle. Okay, so we'll go on. So this is the Nietzsche stone. Jung very much referred to Nietzsche in the Red Book. In fact, he took a lot of inspiration from Nietzsche, and that's another correspondence with 2001: A Space Odyssey, because it's very well known that the theme at the start of the Space Odyssey and at the end is "Thus Spake Zarathustra," which is by Richard Strauss, which is the famous poem by Friedrich Nietzsche. And Friedrich Nietzsche had obviously Carl Jung was a great admirer of his, although there were some things he disagreed with. He really took on board what Nietzsche was trying to say, and he really, part of his inspiration was actually then realizing that the Red Book was necessary, and to go into the unconscious was that it was necessary, but then you had to be careful. He went by Nietzsche's example that Nietzsche unfortunately fell into madness, And it's a shame, because a great shame, because a lot of his wisdom was very, very relevant, but it was dismissed because of madness. Well, people dismissed it, but Jung did not dismiss it, and part of it that is the inspiration, and he does use a lot of reference to Nietzsche in his work. That's a Nietzsche stone, and you can see how Kubrick has referenced that in the beginning of The Shining, because the next clip shows that actually, and that was in the mountains, and there you are, that's the reflection of the lake, and the island in the middle actually are in the shape of the Nietzsche stone. Okay, I'm really sorry about that. I can't do much about it because he's on the couch and he's very old. Okay, right, we'll press on. Right, so we go back to the scene where Jack is, this is the scene just before the vision, and where Danny goes into the unconscious. He's gone up to get his red truck. And this is, I wanted to put this on again because it's just before, and you can see that the picture that should be on the wall there would have been of the lake. It would have been on, Percy, it's all right, stop. It would have been of the lake, but it's disappeared. And you can see, I think I've got the next picture on there that shows it's there. But also you can see there by the window, at the window in the bathroom, if you take your perspective down back to the end, down to the end, there's a little red car. And now we discover that actually red not only represents the right brain of intuition and the unconscious, therefore, and the Dionysian brain, which is again what Nietzsche talked about, Apollo and Dionysus. That was another thing I was going to mention, because that's another thing with the Apollo sweater. Dionysus, the moon; Apollo, the conscious, the sun, the consciousness; the moon, the unconscious. Dionysus and Apollo. So anyway, yeah, and there's the moon. That's number 18. And it's 18 in the tarot. And there you can see the pillars, and that's a very good tarot card actually, because it's very ominous, but you can see the pillars and the door leading into Darth, into the void, and then but the red sun there as well. It's remarkable. So anyway, there we go. And the rue, in fact, at the top. Okay, so we'll go on. And there's even there was even the Taurus, the bull, at the top of that. Okay, great. Right, so here we are. This has got, obviously, this is when the vision is happening, or when the attack is happening. If there was an attack, that is led to the imagination. We don't even know if actually Jack even tried to strangle Danny. It's possible he didn't, because this is really left to the supernatural then. It's like it goes into the realms of the supernatural, into the visionary. So anyway, so this is there are lights on in the deep snow, in the deep storm, and the dark that's descending as the unconscious, the film goes into the unconscious realm. But there you see in the middle, the pyramid in the middle, which is in a pyramid shape, the triangle of the supernal triangle of the tree. There are no lights. So this is Darth. There is no light there. And also the other strange thing about those lights, there are 3 lights. But there are only, there's Danny. Why would he be alone? He wouldn't be alone in another part of the place without his parents, and there are 2 of them. So that shows you there is something else going on. And there is Darth in the middle. I'm really sorry about this. I gave him a sedative before, so this wouldn't happen. Okay, so pressing on. Right, so nearly there. Okay, so this, remarkably, this is the monitor on the spaceship that's monitoring. This is in 2001, A Space Odyssey. And this is monitoring the moon mission, which is below on the moon. What has happened, a delegation of diggers down there, archaeologists on the moon, spacemen, have gone down because they've dug up, they have found a monolith on the moon. They've dug up this monolith, another one. And so they have this whole, this is the lights of it, you can see on the monitor. But you can see the shape of it, which is remarkable, which is in the shape of a key. And so it's saying the moon is the key. And then you can even see there's green in there, which is that's the color of the green that is shown in The Shining. You know, when they talk about room 237, green is the color. So you've got the green there, which is to do with the unconscious, and you've got the moon, which again I've described, and the shape of a key, which is remarkable, the key to room 237. But that square, red square around it, could even mean, it could possibly be referring to the Red Book, because Kubrick did take his inspiration for that film and The Shining from the Red Book, you know, and all the things he used, Jung used the Kabbalah and everything. Anyway, also remarkably, if you look to your left, the left-hand side, you can see two little shapes that look like the Taurus sign. So very, very discreetly, he's hidden those in. So that's amazing. He's got the red and the blue too, of the right brain and the red brain, the intuition and the logic, and the Apollo, the Dionysus. So there you go. So we'll press on. Okay, so finishing up. So the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aquarius, which obviously is coming up on the solstice this year on the 21st of December. Remarkably, this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is a very important one, although they happen every 20 years. This is the first in since the 80s of the in an air trigon, but it's not just that. It's the first in 800 years in Aquarius. And really that's about the start, the Aquarian age just started to come in and accelerated all along. You know, 500 years, it gets more, the Renaissance, and then you've got the alchemists, and then you've got the Kabbalah, and you've got all of that. And then it accelerates into the revolution, industrial age, and really accelerates in the world wars in the 20th century, and the advance of science. So here we are. So Nostradamus did note this and called it the return of the aqueduct, which meant Aquarius. So it's the return of it from the old processional age, the first processional age of Aquarius, which would be way back, perhaps when Atlantis began. Who knows? I mean, it goes way back. Anyway, so I better press on because he's anyway, you can see amazingly how Carl Jung synchronizes with this, because this is GMT, but the exact time of the conjunction, Leo is rising, the Jupiter and Saturn is on the descendant, and obviously that's Carl Jung's sun in Leo, 0 degrees Leo rising. And it also picks up his ascendant at 3 degrees Aquarius. And by the way, Kubrick's birthday is 26th of July, the same as Carl Jung. So obviously he had a resonance there. So his sun was in that as well. And they both very much resonate to this impulse to embrace the age of Aquarius and try to inform people for it. Great men, shamans, both of them. Anyway, I just wanted to end then on a little vision. Oh yeah, last one. And then I wanted to do this little visualization. This is Eris. So Eris, I won't go into the usually, but Eris that came out of the myths of Atlantis and everything else. She instigated the Trojan War. There's a thing called the golden apples of the Hesperides, which she gave a golden apple as a contest, and she caused in the myth the Trojan War. So it's called the golden apple of discord. And Eris, of course, if you know the myth about Eris, she is the goddess of discord and war and chaos. She's actually very much implicated in what's happening now, with Pluto going to be exactly square Eris. In fact, I think it's at the inauguration, funnily enough, with Mars there as well. So Who knows? I don't think it's going to be without discord. So there she is. Eros is part of this. But as Nietzsche very famously said, and I'll just quote that very, very quickly, if I can. He says about discord, and he says about chaos, and he says about the mystical fall into chaos. And his quote is very famous. He says that, and Jung's fall into chaos, it provides him with the opportunity to forge a new beginning. He talks about chaos and takes a lot of his ideas from Nietzsche. Nietzsche very famously said, and I can't find it very quickly, but the quote is that you have to have chaos to create a dancing star. So there we are. Let's hope it creates a dancing. I'm sure it will, because it's about that. So anyway, here's, okay, descent into hell. Yeah. Anyway, so into the unconscious, because that's where we need to go to. In order to embrace this age of Aquarius, we have to go into chaos. We have to go into the unconscious. We've already started. So anyway, so room 237, the key fob. The key fob 237. Now this is really weird because the red, it does seem to indicate, symbolize the red book. And so, so the red book, and there's 237 on it. Well, if you look at room 237, I thought just for a hell of it, let me look at room 237 in the red book. And of course, the red book wasn't actually published until 2009, and so 237 is part of the it is interpreting, it is translating what's in the red book, but it is, you know, very much part of it. It is a translation, and on that page, 237 is the descent into hell. Synchronistic or not, Jung would love it. And there you go, that's for the next part. I'll just end with a quick visualization, and hopefully it will drown out my dog. Quickly, very quickly. Okay, here we go. Visualization of Jupiter, Saturn, and on the solstice sun. If it does it, oh, come on. That's not going to do it. Yes, it is going to do it. Okay. Got to do this, I'm sorry. Now visualize that solstice sun and Jupiter Saturn conjuncting. That's how he meant it. The solstice sun comes up. Isn't that wonderful? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Michaela.
Thanks. Thank you, Linda. Sorry about my dog.